Well, this is one of those planned events that we know is coming each year at this time, and it is necessary to do quite a bit of planning for it. However, the police recognize the fact this is a tradition here, and we're ready and plan to take care of it, and we've got it in good hands.
What are the biggest problems you face as policemen?
Well, of course, the crowd sometimes gets to be big, and once in a while we've come across some people who are less than merrymakers. Sometimes they get out of hand, but for the most part, these people are here to enjoy themselves, and we don't have a great deal of trouble with them.
Do the police feel relieved when this is passed?
I think so. I think at 3 o'clock in the morning when everyone gets through here that they would have spent their day and they're glad to go home.
Did you hear an explosion?
Yes, ma'am. It just shook the whole house. And then first thing I knew, fire was going everywhere.
You're not hurt, are you?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Was there anyone else in your apartment?
Not in mine, but there's a bunch of kids upstairs, and they said they got them out, little bitty kids.
Members of the House who yesterday voted for their own insurance bill today refused to pass it on third reading, spending instead most of the day arguing over whether to replace an amendment that would provide equal rate coverage for all ages. The upshot of today's House action was to effectively bar the House insurance bill from consideration. Instead, House Insurance Committee members are now looking at the Senate bill, sponsored by Dallas Senator Oscar Mauzy, to see if they can concur with it. If they can, a conference committee of 5 senators and 5 representatives will meet next week in Austin and will try to thrash out the differences. By failing to pass their own bill, members of the House left themselves open to expected criticism both from Governor Preston Smith and the public over the weekend. And because many legislators had hoped to be finished with the special session today, harsh words may well be exchanged when the conference committee meets in Austin next week. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, on the move.
The signatures were counted and recounted, and the lawyers have harangued and pleaded, but now it's up to the voters. The matter of a liquor option election in Precinct 2, Carrollton, Farmers Branch, and Richardson, finally came before the Commissioner's Court today. The Commissioners unanimously voted to put it on the November ballot, but not before the Dries got in one last say. Attorney Douglas Bergman told the court, with what he called a faint cry in the voice of the wilderness, that there was not a sufficient number of valid signatures on the petitions. However, the Commissioners decided to take County Clerk Tom Ellis's word for the validity of 9,053 signatures and let the voters decide if they want to live in a wet area. Following the vote, Commissioner Jim Tyson took the opportunity to lambast the legislature. Tyson has been in Austin for several days, trying in vain to get passage of House Bill 28, which would allow the county to issue certificates up to $5 million for voting equipment. Tyson said the clowning of the lame ducks and the preponderance of rural representatives were the main reasons he could not get the bill passed. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judi Hanna.
The Solid Waste Disposal Committee was to be chaired by State Representative Vernon Stewart of Wichita Falls, but Stewart and other legislators rushed back to Austin for special hearings on insurance legislation. Instead, Dr. Geoffrey Stanford, a public health expert in Houston, presided over the hearing. Testifying were representatives of local governments from Dallas, Tarrant, and Denton counties and members of the Regional Solid Waste Disposal Study Committee. Dr. Stanford told me that it's not this body's job to point out violators of proper solid waste disposal, but rather it's an effort to bring government, industry, and the public together in a partnership to solve the burgeoning problem. Appearing on Channel 8's News at noon, Dr. Stanford was asked by Jim Mitchell if the benefits of proper solid waste disposal outweighed the high cost of disposal plans.
I think our team is better this year, really because we are a more balanced team. Last year, we relied on running the ball more than we did passing. We didn't pass the ball very much at all. And teams lined up against us, and they disrespected pass and played run. And we executed well enough to even run on them anyway. But I think this year it'll be a little easier because we can pass the ball just as effectively. And teams are going to have to respect pass. We'll be able to hurt them in the air.
You don't mind not playing all the game then? You've gotten 7 touchdowns in playing. I guess you probably logged more touchdowns per playing time than any player in the country.
Yeah, I haven't been playing too much in the first 3 games, but the reason for this is we're trying to develop depth on our team.
Almost everybody on our team and Oklahoma's team more or less thinks of Texas and Oklahoma as being as important as a Southwest Conference game, not only in your mind, but also nationally a lot of times, as it has been the last couple of years.
What will be your duties as an inside linebacker this Saturday afternoon?
I'll be mostly concerned, as it's going to be kind of a big change from our last couple of games. Our last couple of games have been more concerned with the pass, although against Tech we thought they were going to come out more against the run, so we prepared more against the run for them. Then they came out passing, and that's how they kind of caught us off guard, all 4 inside linebackers, and they hit a lot of 10, 15-yard passes on us like that. And against Oklahoma, we're going to be concerned mostly with the inside run, and the inside run working outside.
Sometimes in the game, I go in with the first team offense. Later on in the game, the second team offense come in, and the second team backs.
Which is your preference, the run or the pass?
I'd rather take both, as it leaves a threat. And if the pass is open, we stick with the pass. If the run is open, we stick with the run.
In your games this year, do you have a play that stands out in your memory as being the sweetest one so far?
Well, I haven't had one yet, but I'm looking forward for one.
How close have you been to the Cotton Bowl? Have you seen any games there? Have you ever been in the stadium?
Went last year when they beat Texas 48-22. That kind of brought me here to OU too, seeing that exciting game.
And you'd like to put it on them again?
Right. Put it on them one more time, for the next 4 years.
These girls are judged on beauty and the originality of their costume. And it's only a pledge that is allowed to enter the costume. Come on now, let's get on my ass.
It all began just as planned. Dozens of business executives, military men, and media people turned out for a look at the Navy's new S3A Viking, the latest word in anti-submarine warfare. First, LTV demonstrated how the plane's components are tested at Grand Prairie. Today's test was on the landing gear. To simulate an aircraft carrier landing, a mock-up of the Viking was dropped on a steel plate, which shot forward at a speed of more than 100 miles per hour. By dropping the mock-up on the speeding plate, company officials said the landing gear was subjected to the same stress that would have been present if the Viking were landing on the flight deck of a carrier. So far, so good. The landing gear apparently passed the test. Outside, a completed model of the plane, about half of it built by LTV. This is only the fourth Viking of an initial production of 191. The plane is said to be the world's most advanced submarine hunter, mostly because of its complex computer, which helps run the price tag for each Viking to about $13 million. At that price, the aircraft supposedly is the answer to the nuclear submarine threat of the 1970s. Corporation executives are proud of their new airplane, and many of them showed their pride with buttons which proclaimed, "The Vikings are coming." But it almost didn't turn out that way. For a time, today's Viking went nowhere. The crowd gathered, the cameras were ready, but the plane wasn't. It was also Friday the 13th at LTV. Executives huddled quickly to discuss the problem and came up with this explanation.
The problem is an electrical problem on the number one system. I can't specifically define it for you. I'll be happy to as soon as we find it. But we have two systems in the airplane, but we don't want to go unless both are operating.
However, there should be little embarrassment when the production schedule for this aircraft is in full swing. Then it will mean for Dallas, Fort Worth, and for North Texas, $500 million for the local economy, and also jobs for as many as 5,000 people during the next decade. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Making a left now, I'll be over there, 10-4. 10-4. 3350 clear. Yeah, 3350. All right, above your head there. Yeah, 3351 over. Working about going out to coal, there's an explosion.
We do have one forum we'd like to
Follow amendment, clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment number 1 by oral amend SCR number 16 as.
You ask me a question, give me the opportunity to answer. Say what's my hand.
I apologize. Just a minute.
This resolution simply and clearly tells Congress that the people of Texas.
SDR number 14 is finally passed.
Senate confirmed resolution number 16 by.
My hand up is we've already done this 3 times, and here we have drug up again in an effort to thwart the will of this House that has clearly been expressed on 3 different occasions.
Have not complied with one or more of the things that are required to be checked, by which these petitions were procured, and the way they were circulated, and the question of whether or not there's any seal on them is required by law. I figure they were voted rather than call them.
609 signatures, which are required for local option election. We got it 9,053 valid.
Yes, go out and try to find out who actually stole it. this is a felony, that they would stoop so low, some of them who oppose the bill, that they would actually steal the bill. Now, if it was for legislation...
All in favor, all opposed, carried, so ordered that we all vote aye, Judge.
Standards that would be applicable countywide. On the books, purporting to give counties certain authorities, the Solid Waste Disposal Act and the county area of the county that would fall within these guidelines. Legal advice, much has been said about recycling.
Right.
I believe that we'd be going to the helicopter. Yeah.
Well, I think the pros as compared to college is a lot. I think the people up here and the players know the game a little bit more. As far as college, we don't have as many games, and you do a lot of practicing, and you seem to learn the game both places fairly well, but the big difference is the red line. In the college, there is no red line, and you can break all over, and it's a little bit more wide open. Here, the positional play is stressed much more, and the players just seem to play the game much more at a positional.
What about the conditioning program at training camp so far? There was a new one introduced this year. Did that reflect any on the college training programs? And if so, has it helped you any?
Well, I think as in college, here we've done like our push-ups and sit-ups, but here I think this new program is much more beneficial. We didn't have that much in college. We just, the first week we did a little bit, but here these exercises I know are going to be beneficial to our club, and I feel that we should have a good club.
This is a story about mob scenes. You see what looks like a mob scene here, but you haven't seen anything yet. The big mob scene, of course, takes place outside. We're inside the Adolphus Hotel, and out in front and up and down the street later on tonight is where the real mob scene takes place, because this is Texas OU weekend. Now, we may see some of these same people out on the street tonight, but right now let's find out how things are going around the Adolphus Hotel here. Excuse me, sir, do you have any rooms left here?
Not at the moment, we haven't got any.
They're all filled up for the night?
All the way to the top.
Is this, what about a cot out in the hall?
Well, we would probably have to charge about $25 of that if we could manage that. I don't know if we could do it or not.
Is this Texas OU weekend your busiest time of the year here?
About the busiest one, is right.
How long do you think it's going to take you to get everybody in here and settled? Just the people that are in the lobby?
From now to about 11 o'clock. That's about the time I get off.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The early birds are getting a head start on the celebration here in the downtown area, but of course the main activity comes tonight. The police have 4 command posts set up. They're much more sophisticated in how they handle things in recent years. That's probably one reason why there's not been nearly as much difficulty and not quite as wild as it was in years past. But nonetheless, there's going to be thousands of people down here, and the police will have their problems, and there'll be several hundred in all likelihood will be arrested before the night's over. But I'm sure that as they go about their activities tonight, they'll remember the slogan and help keep Dallas clean. This is Rosser McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move in downtown Dallas.